And it's been quite a while since we've done a free training. So we're happy to be here. Zach and I, we've moved to our new home in San Diego. And I would love for, so ultimately you're all here for some reason, right? There are 1,000 different things you could be doing with your life right now. And you're choosing to be here with us, and we're honored. And I'd love for you to type in the chat to get some energy moving. What are you wanting to gain from this? And ultimately, what do you desire to achieve this year? What do you desire to achieve in 2022 if you were bulletproof from the things that could throw you off your game?
Yes, I love it. So yes, thank you, Ted, for typing in the chat. And all of you, please note, make sure that you are in the chat sharing with everyone and not just hosts and panelists, so that everyone watching can read your messages. Johnny, if you could please repost your message to everyone. And Ted, thanks for typing the prompt. What are you wanting to gain from this experience, and what do you desire to achieve in 2022? And I love that we are starting with this question, because so often we can really get lost in a fog of not knowing where we want to go or where we're headed or what's up or down. But when we can get really in tune with our goals and our desires, keyword there, desires, we're able to start making more sense of our path forward.
Yeah. And also type new if you're new to us, if you haven't been in our space much, or I don't know, what's another word for not new? I was gonna say old, but that doesn't
just say
feel right.
Or type veteran if you've been a part of the Gay Man Thriving and emerging thriving queer community. So the question was, what are you wanting to gain from this experience? And that means this experience this evening, and what are you wanting to gain this year to keep growing as a person, says Billy. Steven says a deepened relationship with my new boyfriend. Awesome, Steven. Victor says living more fully and authentically, a healthy committed relationship, says Matthew. To be open to a relationship, says Kenneth. Johnny says, I have a lot to accomplish this year. John wants to get unstuck and be open to new possibilities. Awesome, John. I bet most everyone here watching can relate to you in some fashion there. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, removing the obstacles and limitations that are getting in your way, so that you can accomplish your goals and have the things that you're typing in this chat box.
And I love saying that there are a lot of new people here today. So
welcome.
Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah. So as I told you guys, my name is Zach, and I'm along with Andrew, the owner and creator of Gay Man Thriving, but I'm also a certified professional coach. I help people make massive energetic shifts in breaking out of a place of settling and just going through the motions to really rapidly making big changes to move forward and to accomplish their goals. And that's something that I am super passionate about, and able to use my superpowers, my sovereign energy and my telescopic and microscopic lenses to really help people see more clearly and get out of their own way.
Yeah, Ted, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, yeah. Hey, everybody. So I'm Ted Smith. I've been a client of Gay Man Thriving for about 2.5 years now. And my life is completely unrecognizable to what it used to be. I'm now a best-selling author and a coach as well, full-time, and loving my life. And I believe so strongly in the philosophies that we're going to talk about here today that I've made a career out of it. And so that's why I'm here and excited to share this space with you, Andrew and Zach, as well as everybody else.
Yeah.
And your book is really relevant. Could you share a bit about what book you are a best-selling author of?
Yeah, so my book is called Healthy Me, Happy We, Transforming Relationships with Yourself and Others. My history was that I was in a 15-year abusive relationship with an alcoholic narcissist. And when I finally ended that, I began the journey of self-love and healing and discovering who I truly am at the core, underneath all those layers of shame and abuse and all those things. And so relationships are my jam, I like to say, because, you know, I went through something so traumatic and painful with respect to a relationship. And now I'm creating healthy, happy, thriving relationships with other people. But primarily, I've learned the hard way that it comes down to a healthy, happy relationship with yourself. And so that's what I love to share with other people as well.
That's right. That's beautiful, Ted. Thanks for sharing.
Awesome. Yeah, it's been great seeing you grow and thrive and serving you, and now seeing you serve others in the community as well as their coach and guide.
Yep.
So my name's Andrew Sartori. I'm Zach Bull's husband, and I've helped found this movement as well. And what I love doing is I love helping you connect with your higher self, your highest self, that knows you are infinitely powerful, that knows you can achieve incredible things, and to move past the limiting beliefs, the shadow thoughts that prevent you from doing that. And there are so many different ways we can do this. And we founded Gay Man Thriving about 4 years ago, and we've helped hundreds of gay men have the best relationships they've ever had in their entire lives. We've helped guys go from not having a date in 20 years to marrying the man of their dreams. People like Ted going from abusive, toxic relationships to having incredibly fulfilling dating lives. And that's how we started. We started in the relationship space, and we still are very passionate about that. I was in a very toxic relationship before I met Zach. Tons of stories. We've got hundreds of hours of videos in our social media that you can catch up on. But ultimately, our passion is helping you find what is your best next energetic step that you can take to move towards creating what you want in your life. And for everyone, that can be different. Yep. And you all might have similar blocks, and they also might show up differently. And so we'll be talking about how you can actually bulletproof in this way your 2022.
Yes.
And we're really excited to be here with y'all today.
Yes. And one thing that all three of us have in common is year after year, we are creating the best years of our lives. We have learned how to bulletproof each and every year that we're facing. It doesn't matter which year we're at. It doesn't matter whether we're in a global pandemic or things are just regular out in the world. But we have learned that regardless of what's going on outside of us, how to master our core energy and bulletproof our lives. So who here is ready to learn how to bulletproof year 2021? Who's ready to get started? Type bulletproof in the chat box right now if you're ready to learn the 3 steps to truly bulletproofing your life so that you can get out of your own way, stop letting fear and worry and insecurities and doubts and all of the stories that we create block you from having everything that you really want, because you can have it all. I know that because I'm experiencing it for the first time in my life. And it's remarkable. And it's not because anything outside of me changed, guys. It's because I've learned how to change from the inside out. Just like Ted's book, Happy Me, Happy We, it all starts from within. And we're excited to share as much as we can over this next 50 minutes with you guys. And we will be sharing information on how you can schedule a call, continue exploring possibilities of working together, because this is a journey and there's no quick fixes here. There's no shortcuts. So if you're looking for a magic pill, this is not the life training for you. But if you are willing to do what it takes to start creating that joy, that bliss, that love, that confidence, then buckle up, because this is going to be an exciting 50 minutes. And I love seeing all the bulletproofs. Awesome. Well, I'll pause there. So let's begin. Let's start with the first step. So it really, it all starts from within, guys. What would you guess are the biggest? Oh, I forgot. I want to start with definitions so that we're really all speaking the same language here, because words are so powerful, and the words that you choose will literally speak volumes. And I want to speak to the title of this very workshop, Bulletproof Your 2022. What are some words that come to mind when you think of bulletproof? Go ahead and just let yourself kind of just think freely and type in the chat the first word that pops in your head when you think bulletproof. When you think I need to be bulletproofed, or I want to feel bulletproofed, what words pop in your head? Resilience, Superman, safe, shield, vest, invincible, powerful, strong, unstoppable, happy, no filter, coffee, nothing bothers you.
I'm just like seeing these words. I'm just wanting to just like be like, yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
I know that I think of protection. I think of like a bulletproof vest. I tend to think of something outside of me to bulletproof me, to protect me from the world, because in that sense, when I hear the word bulletproof, I think that I am fragile and I need something outside of me to protect me. But you'll find in this workshop, it's actually the exact opposite. We're going to be really exploring and teaching you how to let go of what makes the bullets hurt you. And, so I guess the next question I have is, what are the bullets? If we're bulletproofing ourselves, what do we need protection from? What do we need protection from? So that's the next prompt, next question in the chat. What do you think that we need protection from? What are you guys afraid of? This is important. Billy says ourselves, judgments, negativity, criticism, self-doubt, fear, rejection, people, family, judgments, insecurities, hurt from others, narcissistic people, fear, low self-esteem, aggressors. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of different types of comments, internalized homophobia, self-sabotage, self-loathing. I'm seeing a lot coming from within, a lot coming from outside. And that's the thing. We can't control anything outside of us. So for those of you who may have listed anything about, other people, judgmental people, gay men or anything else, it's not that's blocking you. It's your judgments about it. It's an inside game. And so that's why it's not about trying to avoid or block or hide from the bullets. Like the bullets are the bumps, the speed bumps, the real world that's out there happening. It's learning how to make the bullets not hurt. And that's what we want to teach you guys. That's what we have learned, because there's no shortage of bullets out in the world that, we might be faced with at any moment. And every time we leave the house, anytime we hop on social media, we're presented with opportunities for something to blow up in our face, for lack of a better word. But this is where we get to decide how affected we are by those bullets. And that's what the first step really is all about. It's learning how to release the power that you're giving away to other people's judgments, to anything outside of you that you think is blocking you, including the internal stuff, the internal fears, the internal doubts, the internal thoughts about bad things happening. This is where you get to release the shadows that are blocking you from taking action and really having the things that you want. Because if we've convinced ourselves there's no point in trying, then we're not going to really go out there and get what we want, whether it's the relationship or the career or the family or the house. We've got to remove those obstacles. And so that's what that first step is all about. I just talked a lot. I'm sure you guys want to jump in.
Yeah, I was going to say, those bullets can come from within. They can be in these microscopic kind of small instances with one other person, or they can be on a much grander scale, like global pandemics. In the work that I've been doing the last few years, I've encountered a lot of people that have blamed a lot of their suffering on COVID. But to Zach's point, from the beginning of this call, like the three of us have had increasingly, the best years of our lives the last 3 years. That's not to say that the suffering that has happened is negligible, but for us ourselves, and for all of us, the world around us, the experiences we have in relationships with other people are a direct reflection of what's going on inside us. And so we can still have the most thriving, happy experience for ourselves when we're doing this work.
And yes, we can. And it does. It all starts from within. It all starts with our relationship with ourselves, because that's what's going to determine what kind of bullshit we're willing or not willing to believe about ourselves and about the world. That's why this first piece is so crucial, because if we're believing that we're not relationship material or not good enough, or if we just have any type of limiting belief, then it's going to impact what we experience in life. And so in our shadows, these are all learned behaviors, but we're all doing the best that we can with what we know. And that's why it's so powerful to be able to question our thoughts and question these beliefs. And that's why I enjoy investing in support and coaches that will help me see my blind spots, because we're all experts at making up bullshit and we're all experts at believing it. It's so powerful when we can clearly see what we believed so strongly to be true was just an utter lie, just a limiting belief, and no longer give the power to that thought and start expressing yourself more fully or living more openly and really going out there and getting what you want. But you're not your thoughts, just like you said. So when you don't do this first step, when you don't release the shadow voices, I want to talk a little bit about what happens, because all of you have the option available to you. This is not something that's limited to a select few. Sure, there are certain people that you're going to want to be around to learn these things, like us, for example. But when you don't learn to recognize the shadow voices, when you don't learn how to release the fears, then this is where you're going to find yourself really living on the sidelines in your life. And it's a really sad thing to see. But this is where the settling and the rationalizing and the overthinking and the talking yourself out of going and making connections and meeting people, or exploring dates and exploring romantic connections and romantic relationships, then that's what's gonna, I'm just gonna pause there for a second.
Yeah, or staying in a relationship for 15 years. I mean, the examples of kind of what these shadow voices sound like are, I can't express an opinion. I don't want, or I want to avoid a fight. I want to avoid a confrontation. I can't express how I feel. I'm too scared. What if what I say harms him? Things like that. Playing small, being dishonest, or being, holding back your true self. Those are all forms of shadow voices.
Yeah. So guys, I'd love all of you to just get a poll. Is this making sense? Can you recognize within you where you might have some doubts and fears that are standing in your way? Perhaps where you might be talking yourself out of flirting with someone that you're attracted to, or applying for that new position, or going on that vacation, or taking off, or taking that risk. Type shadow in the chat if you feel like fears and shadow voices are standing in your way of having everything that you want in life. And I'm going to write shadow because I'm not immune to them. None of us are. I've learned how to catch them really quickly, and I've learned how to stop giving power to them so that I can get back on track, return to sanity. But the shadow voices are part of our psyche. And type ready if you're ready to stop believing the stories that your shadows are telling you. Type ready in the chat if you're ready to stop falling for the bullshit that those voices are trying to convince you are true about what's possible for you. Because we all might believe that there are things outside of us standing in our way, but we are the biggest blocks to everything, to having everything in life. And it's because of the limitations that we set. So
yeah, and some of you might be thinking, oh, type ready, like, is that really going to do it? Is this really just as easy as a light switch? And we like to say that this work is not for the faint of heart. It is difficult. It's not easy, but it is simple. Mm-hmm. It is a matter of simply changing our thoughts, and that takes time and effort. And and consistent hard work. But over time and continuing to do this work and committing to yourself, it really does work. I mean,
Yeah.
me, for example, like self-confidence was out the door 3 years ago, and it's still an area I'm working on. But for the most part, I actually watched a coaching session with me and Andrew 2 years ago recently, and just looking at myself, like I was a completely different person. My shoulders were hunched over and I just was very anxious and scared, and I don't feel that way anymore. I still have my moments, but it's this work really is powerful stuff.
Yes, I'm dropping a link in the chat for any of you if this is resonating and you're wanting to explore slaying your shadows more deeply. This is where you can explore that further with us, because it is it's not a snap your fingers quick fix process, just like Ted said. I do want to offer a reframe, because for me, after doing this work and understanding it, it was grueling at first and probably some of the most painful stuff I've experienced. And hard is a word I would use to describe it. It's
speak a bit, or go on.
I just want to say that now it's become kind of such a way of being. It is simple, and I would use the word easy to describe it. But it's a process, and I think what's helped me move so rapidly through it is the advanced support that I've gotten in the blind spot detection. Because yeah, our shadows are sneaky. They're our inner critics. They're designed to, throw us off, to make us doubt ourselves and to not try. And yeah, I'm hearing that a lot of people here are ready to stop listening to those voices. And that's where you get to really question your thoughts. And that is not an easy process to learn. It's one that we all can do. And for those of you who want to get that extra support and handholding in that process, click that link that I just dropped in, fill out an application and schedule a call, and we can talk more. I want to move to the next point, but was there something you wanted to add?
That's all good.
You sure?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how about a kiss instead? Awesome, love it.
You guys are doing that. I will share that, like for me now, like I'm actually grateful when I get triggered now. It may not be a fun experience, but I know from doing this work that when I'm triggered, that points to something that I get to work on.
Yes.
It's not about what's happening around me. It's not about blaming the other person for saying something that made me feel yucky. It's pointing to something that still needs healed, still needs released, and still needs looked at. And that's part of doing this work.
And it is part of doing this work, and it's exactly part of step 2, which is the next part of this process in energetic mastery. Who's ready to hear step 2? Guys, type step 2 in the chat if you're excited to hear how Ted, please let me finish my sentence. If you're excited to hear how Ted mastered what he just described.
And the steps that Zach's talking about, these are the steps to what we've created called the energetic attraction system. You might have heard Ted earlier say everything in your world is a reflection of what's going on the inside. And it all comes down to your energy, right? When just repeating what we talked about in the step 1, when you're feeling the doubt, the overthinking, the anxiety, the questioning, analysis by paralysis, you can just imagine what your energy feels like in that moment and what you're going to create from that. And now, Zach's going to talk about what the higher energy will look like.
Yes. And so why Ted was able to share, well, not why he was able to share it, but why he's able to experience some joy and pleasure in recognizing the opportunity and the trigger is because of step 2, which is the confidence that he's built in his ability to navigate this world and his ability to know that there's a lot of unexpected stuff out there. There's a lot of unknowns. And while a lot of people can be terrified of that and stay in a survival place of just trying to get by and avoid pain, Ted knows it's okay to take risks, to take chances, to put himself out there. And in doing so, is Ted going to get triggered? Yeah, most likely, especially in uncharted waters, especially out of his comfort zone. But Ted welcomes those, maybe not in the exact split second it's happening because it's challenging for a moment, But once we restore ourselves to sanity, which we've learned how to do quickly because of this work, we're able to see the learning opportunities under each and every trigger. And with that confidence, which is so powerful. It's when we're able to really master all of the light archetypes. In this work, when you go deeper with us, you're going to learn about the shadow work, the light and the dark, the 4 pillars of consciousness, and stepping into phase 2 is where we really build our confidence and really step into our power, our sovereign decision-making skills, our ability to create magic when we are trusting in ourselves, our power of putting ourselves first and nourishing ourselves and loving ourselves. All of these things combined to really just create what we want.
I'm seeing some questions in the chat. Some people are asking, what are triggers? Would y'all like to talk to what, speak to what triggers are?
Sure. Yeah, trigger is gonna, sorry, Ted, you go ahead. All
right. So a trigger is something that brings us back to the past. So if somebody is saying something that makes us feel unsafe or uncertain or upset, it's because of wounds from the past that have not been healed. So for example, when I ended that 15-year relationship, I later began a 10-month relationship with a man that was a beautiful, very healthy, thriving relationship. But during that time, anytime we had any sort of disagreement on any level, my chest would get tight. I would get really nervous and clammy. And it was because I was triggered, because in the 15-year relationship prior to that, any sort of disagreement, whether it was, what to eat that night for dinner or what, would result in a blow up fight. And so that taught me, that trained my mind, that trained my body to think that any sort of disagreement or difference of opinion was not safe for me to experience. And so that's something to be healed.
Yeah, and to simplify it even more, the way I view a trigger is it's anything that happens outside of you that triggers an emotional response that doesn't feel good. So 2016 election results, a lot of people were triggered, right? Like that was something that happened outside and people were really upset. And then 2020, people on the other team, lots of people on the other team were triggered at those election results. And this is what we mean by no matter what outcome is happening, no matter what's happening politically or pandemically, whatever, it's being able to be strong and in our power. And I love Tiffany asked to be clear for step 2. So step 1 is releasing the fears and the shadows. Step 2 is, yes, building the confidence, stepping into your power and your light is what that is, anchoring in your true light, which is the real truth. All the shadows, the limiting beliefs that I can't do this. All of that stuff is bullshit, survival, consciousness thinking.
To make it real clear, the first step is really emptying and releasing all of the bullshit that's there that you're believing to be true about yourself, releasing the thoughts about, things not being safe. And I mean, realistically, but like, it not being safe to put yourself out there or avoiding being embarrassed, and just all these beliefs that you may be holding on to that are holding you back from living more potently and fully. And clearing that out of the way is step 1, releasing. And then from that more neutral space of a blank slate, we're able to be in a more building and constructive phase. Because if we try building while there's still all these little negative stories, they're going to keep tearing it down, and we're just going to keep staying in these cycles again and again and again, which is exactly what happens when we don't successfully go through these steps. We just keep replaying these different types of scenarios again and again, and until we choose differently. And from step 2, we're able to really create that knowing and trust in ourselves, that confidence in our ability to navigate the world and not have to see the steps ahead of us, to know that we're gonna navigate it and to find the joys and the delights that are out there and available to us when we're not hiding behind the sidelines, which is what we do before we finish step 1. And
the truth is, we are all limitless creators. We can create anything in our life that we want to have happen, whether in relationships, career, money, sex, everything. the only limits that hold us back are our own thoughts. And those thoughts and shadows develop as protective mechanisms in childhood and early adult years, and they carry in through much of our adult life, for most people for their entire lives. But it is possible to shift those and move to a more limitless space.
What would you do if you had more confidence in yourself? If you felt like you were free of limitations that block you from confidence? I'd love to hear all of you type in the, or see all of you type in the chat. What would be available to you? What do you suspect or believe would be possible for you if you truly embodied more confidence in yourself? If you truly believed in yourself, if you truly trusted in yourself? All three of those words are very similar in this concept of knowing and trusting that you're going to be okay and that the world's a safe place to play in. So go play. I'm seeing unlimited potential, a loving relationship, authenticity. I'd quit my job and become a volunteer at my kid's school, build my own theater company. Come on, guys, this is beautiful. I want to see all of you type in your dreams. What will be possible for you when you build more confidence in yourself? Because visioning these things is such an important part of the process. Billy says relationships. I'm sorry, what, Ted?
Become a coach, change careers, win an Oscar. Like all of these things are possible. They may seem like these far-fetched, dreams that we have, but it really is all possible.
It is, guys. Like I'm looking at my ocean view in my new home that we're still getting set up with my amazing husband, leading this movement in a dream world that I never thought I'd be able to live each and every day. Like I created this for myself, and it's because I believed that I could. It happened slowly for me because I didn't have all of the resources and tools and support available to me. But each day I get to bask in what I've created because of the confidence that I've built for myself, because I got out of my own way. And I'm still moving forward and growing each and every day. But everything that you guys are typing in the chat, just like Ted said, these are all possible for you. It's a matter of releasing the doubts and fears and blocks that are preventing you from exploring all of these things that are possible for you.
Yeah. I'll give another example too. So most of you know, I changed careers January 1st. I began coaching as kind of a side thing and published my book last year, but I still had a corporate job that I had full-time with a steady paycheck every 2 weeks, knowing exactly what I was going to be bringing in. And late last year, I realized that all my reasons for staying in that job were from shadow, because I didn't believe in myself, because I wanted that safety of that paycheck. I didn't want to have the awkward conversation with my team that I would be leaving, all these things that were based in fear, when the truth was I am a limitless creator and I can create the life that I want, the life that I want, the life that aligns with my passion and my goals, and my truth is helping other people and being on this journey of self-love and truth. And so peeling away and saying no to those shadows, I launched a whole new life for myself January 1st. These things are all possible.
I love it, Ted. It's so cool for me just to be sitting here and for you to share that testimony. Yeah, just wanted to say that.
Yeah, and Tiffany said that is terrifying. And yes, it is. In many ways, it is terrifying. It's scary as shit. But it's a matter of trusting myself, trusting my power, knowing who I am at the core, and going for it. That doesn't mean fear isn't going to come up. That's the whole point. That's what we're trying to say, is like, it's facing that fear head on and doing it anyway. And I just posted the other day that in order to feel the highest highs, we've got to be willing to face our biggest fears and feel the lowest lows. And like Zach, it might sound like a fairy tale, like, oh, Zach and Andrew, they met and then they started this business and now they're living in their dream home on the beach in their favorite town in San Diego, and it was all unicorns and rainbows.
We went through hell 100 times. How many times do you think we've been triggered by each other or by fearing we would go bankrupt or right? Like
Countless.
we faced our biggest fears. Our relationship has gone through so many challenges. And so why is it so scary? It's
facing ourselves is terrifying. It's the scariest thing that we can do. It's what we try to avoid. It's why we have coping mechanisms. It's why we think we need things outside of us to feel better, because we don't know how to access it within ourselves. We don't believe that we're capable of creating it. But it's like Marianne Williamson's quote, like our biggest fear is not that, I don't know how to say it. It's not that we're inadequate. It's that we're powerful beyond measure. And then trusting what to do with that power once we discover it. I mean, there's just so many things that we can do each step of the way to block ourselves. But by the time we've listened to that first or second, trigger or block or excuse or belief that's standing in the way, then we give up, or we say we'll do it later. And then before you know it, our lives have passed us by. And that's why it's so important for us to reach out and get support to do this work, because left to our own devices, we're going to talk ourselves into taking action. We're going to talk ourselves out of stuff. It's 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. It doesn't have to be, but it can be really challenging. And that's why I want to drop this link again for you guys before we go into step 3, because talking with one of us about how you can really start seeing these shadows more clearly, really learning to name them and take your power back from them so that you can start building this confidence in yourself is available. And we can help you do that really quickly.
Well, to be really clear and transparent, what Zach's sending a link to is if you want to apply and see if one of our paid spaces would be the vehicle for you to achieve the kind of lifelong transformation that you really want.
Right.
And this isn't one of the 3 steps. We're going to get to the 3rd step soon, but myself, Zach, and Ted would all agree that the best decisions we've ever made was putting our money where our mouth is, where our desires are, and investing in ourselves and hiring people to help us accelerate our own path of transformation faster than we could on our own. And people that were walking the walk, that were doing it as well. I saw someone ask, in addition to coaching, are you trained therapists? And the answer to that is no. We've all been through therapy. Ted's been through extensive amounts of therapy, and it's very, very different. And ultimately, going back to why this is so scary is you're going through an identity change at the core ultimately. And it's like right now you see the world one way, you have a certain set of belief systems, and these are there to make you feel safe, to make you feel protected, right? And when you start challenging those, it can feel destabilizing at first, like, crap, I don't know where to go from here. And ultimately, though, when you decide that you're not willing to settle for anything less than the most wildly satisfying life, like that's where I was coming from. I knew, I don't want to go through too much of my background. It's not super important now, but I went through so much hell at a very young age. Like I knew I wasn't going to settle for a job that I didn't like. I'm like, I'm going to create my own career helping people in the way that I love more than anything. And that's it. Like I decided that's what's going to happen. And even failure after failure, fearing I would get evicted from my apartment because I wasn't making enough money, I didn't say, oh, well, I'm just going to stop and I'm going to go and apply for a job. I got, I have a bachelor's in architecture, I have a master's degree. I could have applied for many corporate jobs, right? But no, that was never an option on the table for me. And same with dating and relationships. I had been heartbroken, trampled on, And I'm not blaming my exes by any means now. It was all me. I didn't treat myself well. I didn't respect myself. And so I allowed that.
Right.
But I didn't say, well, I'm just going to give up on dating forever, which so many people do. And so it's deciding that you are worth pursuing the most wildly satisfying life for you, and willing to do whatever it takes to create that for yourself.
And I'd love to challenge each and every one of you to really not just type in a word in a chat just to do it, but to really tune into your energy and think about, what are you deciding? Are you deciding that you are willing to do what it takes and you are going to create the life that you really want? Or are you deciding to continue doing what you're doing, or settling or tolerate? I mean, a lot of us are gonna choose a survival type of approach to life to get by, to avoid pain and discomfort. I'm not gonna knock that. It's not the path for me. What I choose is a path of wild, crazy sexual exploration with my husband, and joy and passion and creation and confidence and being fucking present. I lived so long worrying what everybody else was thinking. I still go to that place from time to time, but boy, am I done hanging out there, worrying what everybody else is thinking, trying to make people like me, trying to control every little thing in my life. Since I've learned how to do the opposite and let go and stop caring and start being and trusting, which is what phase 3 is all about, I've started to experience more of that freedom and more of what you hear people saying are the great parts of life that you think they're lying or just full of shit. That's really available when you're able to master this 3-step process. And that's what that 3rd step is. It's integration. It's being intimate with yourself and others. It's exploring and trusting and being and letting curiosity guide you to finding what you really want.
All it takes is a decision. For me, it required a horrific rock bottom experience that was worthy of a TV show or a movie for me to finally wake up and realize, okay, this isn't working. I need help. Things are going to change, and they start now. But it doesn't have to take a rock bottom experience for you to decide, like, this isn't working for me anymore, and it's time for me to make some changes.
Right.
And actually carry through the decision. Like, it's more than just saying the words, like, things have got to change. It's about making the change.
It's about making that decision. You're absolutely right. And yeah, sometimes we all have wake-up calls. We all have opportunities. This is your opportunity in this moment. For me, my rock bottom, my wake-up call was waking up in a hospital bed, being told not only am I HIV positive, but I have AIDS. And that if I hadn't come in, that I probably would have only lived for a few more weeks because my T cells and my numbers were so low. And realizing that, wow, for a moment there, I was thinking I really fucked up my life and that it's all over. Like, that was where I was at. But I made a conscious choice, a solid decision that not only was this not going to define me, but I was going to create the life that I'd always dreamed of. And that's what I have today. I'm in excellent health. I'm in a relationship with a man that I also at one point thought I wouldn't be able to be with because he's HIV negative and I'm HIV positive. And I decided that I was going to have what I wanted in life. I didn't see how. And I stumbled and fell so many times, and I gave up and abandoned myself so many fucking times along the way. But I found myself returning to that decision again and again. And then when I got on a fast track, when I started getting support and guidance, everything started changing so fucking quickly, so much faster than before, because I had someone to help me check my blind spots, to not talk myself into the path of disaster or self-sabotage or self-doubt, but to start moving in the opposite direction and really start believing in myself and building confidence and evidence that I can create all the things that I want. And that's what's available to you. Yes, you can do it on your own. It's challenging. There's books out there. There's the resources. There's gurus. There's an infinite, plethora of resources available to you. Will you get in your head and talk yourself out of it and get confused? What's likely? I've been there. But you also can get that hand-holding and support that's helped me. And that's what I really would encourage all of you to consider exploring. If you really do want to make that decision for yourself to make a change in your life, you don't have to wait for something to magically fall in your lap. In fact, that's not going to happen. But if you're ready to really do something about it, I highly, highly encourage you to schedule this call, to click on this application that I just dropped in the chat, where you're going to answer a few background questions about yourself and what your desires and goals are and what you think is getting in the way. And we'll chat about helping you uncover those blocks, build that confidence, and create what you want. It's not easy, like Ted said, but it can be pretty simple when you get the right support and you really start integrating what you're learning, which is what phase 3 is all about.
Michael asked a great question. Why do you think so many people need to hit bottom before being open to making changes? And the short answer is fear. The short answer is shadows, where change is scary, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we call it a comfort zone, even though it can be wildly uncomfortable and unsatisfying, but it's what we know, right? And we as humans with shadows, like, we like the familiar because we at least know what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
Doing something different, even if it could be wildly more satisfying, it's scary because it's unknown. And what if it's worse than our current life?
Yeah.
That's why people stay stuck.
Right. I mean, who here is single and lonely? Like, type me in the chat if you're single and feel lonely from time to time. It's no shame. Type me in the chat. Type story in the chat if you try to convince yourself, it's okay, I don't mind being single. Single's not so bad. Type story in the chat if you try to convince yourself, I'm just one of those people. It's not so bad. I have friends. Things are okay. Life's not I'm fine. I've made it this far. I'll make it the rest of the way. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of stories. We're all so good at it, guys. We're all so good at the bullshit.
And that's because I'm comfortable. I'm surviving as a single person.
It's good enough.
It's good enough. And well, shit, I don't want to waste my time and date someone who might hurt me, or et cetera, et cetera. And so it's being risk averse. So in Ted's example of quitting his very well-paying job to do something where you had no idea where the next paycheck was going to come from, it's, well, my job's not terrible and I like the people I work with. I know I would really rather be doing this, but well, what if I try and I fail and I end up worse off than when I began?
Exactly. And
so most people go on that kind of survival, coping, settling for rating their life at like a 5, 6, 7, or 8 satisfaction, when a 10 is possible, where you can literally live your life as if it's a beautiful artistic masterpiece that you designed from the purest desires of your own heart.
Yeah, and a lot of people stay stuck at the 1 through 4 level too, and can convince themselves that that's okay. I mean, with the job example, like, my first job, I was wildly unsatisfied. I was working 80-hour weeks and not getting paid enough. This most recent corporate job, there was a lot of things about that job that I really, really liked. The flexibility, the pay, the team, like, there were so many things, but negotiating life insurance rates didn't exactly light me up. I wanted to do something that I felt more aligned with, that I felt called to do, that my heart was telling me, this is me, this is my truth. And so that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. And I love what Michael just said, we can survive or thrive. And everyone can feel that the energy in the world is changing. The world that we live in today is an entirely different energy than it was 5 years ago, than it was 10 years ago. the pandemic it's been a collective manifestation of a brutal wake-up call that humanity has needed, to be frank. And change is happening faster than ever. And so it's going to feel more and more like we're walking on a tightrope, and surviving and coping is on one side and thriving is going to be on the other side. And lots of people are starting to create the most thriving lives they could have ever imagined. And those who are not paying attention to the signs, if we will, to the things that aren't wildly satisfying, but are wanting to just keep going on the comfortable path, are going to start feeling more and more like, our backs up against the wall if we're not making the changes, if we're not releasing the shadows, if we're not stepping into our power and getting real intimate and honest with the truth of who we are, and bringing that into our relationships with other people.
Yeah, it's all about building that trust and confidence within ourselves, because there is no just norm in the world now, and we can try to be prepared for every catastrophe, and we can be hyper, just aware. But when we're able to instead be energetically centered and grounded and prepared and trusting in ourselves, then we're able to let go of the attachments and all of the fears and all of the doubts and all of the blocks that are really messing things up for us. And regardless of what's going on outside of us, we really can start creating everything that we want from the inside out. And so that's my desire for each of you, is to really do what we've talked about today. And to recap, it's to really tune into those voices of doubt, to those fears, to the shadows that are going to make you feel like you have to be a people pleaser or a caretaker if you want to be in a relationship. The voices that are going to make you think that you're not worthy of love and that you shouldn't try, that no one will love you, or the voices that you're not capable of creating the success or wealth that you've always dreamed of. You've got to clear those voices. And it's yes, it's the power of the decision, but learning how to do that is an art, because we can't fake it. And once you master that, really building confidence in yourself by taking risks and putting yourself out there. And what I love when people do this work is this is where they're starting to really practice making these connections and seeing what's possible for them, and finally creating evidence of counter evidence to all those old fucked up beliefs that they used to have, and start living and seeing what's possible. And just all the people who are in relationships now that have done this work, it's remarkable. And each and every one of them at one point thought that this wasn't gonna be possible for them.
So I have to run myself to take care of some moving duties. We've got some junk removers here, but I just want to say everyone here, or no matter where you're at in your life, you have the resources and the power within you to take the next step that will get you on a path to thriving more. Regardless of what that step is, you all have the resources, the power, and the access to create a life that is more wildly satisfying than anything you could imagine right now where you're at today with those cloudy thoughts. And I would love for you to do whatever you can to clear them and step more into your light. And I'm going to go for now.
All right. Thanks, honey. Love you so much. All right. I'm just dropping the link one more time in the chat. Ted, anything else that you'd like to go ahead and do that?
I'll finish your recap. So release one, or step one being release the shadows, release the fears, the doubts. Step two, stepping more into your power, acknowledging the truth of who you are and what your heart is calling you to do and to be. And number three is the step of the integration. So applying that, both of those steps in your everyday life, committing to yourself, getting really, really honest with yourself, not shying away from those shadow voices and, like, oh, I don't want to admit that those are my fears or my doubts, but really being honest with yourself and with other people.
Yes.
And being fully committed to doing both of those steps every single day.
Absolutely. When you do this work, you're going to learn the power of vulnerability, of transparency, the things that you felt like you needed to hide. It's just the liberation of yourself is what's available. I love Eric's question. Yes, that includes transforming that voice that says at 67, it's too late to find that relationship and create a wildly satisfying life. Eric, I'd love to see you schedule a call. I'd love to support you in crushing that belief and creating that relationship that you desire. It's so available to you. All right. Well, I'm feeling complete. This was fun. I love that I decided I was going to show up and make this experience for me, which might sound crazy, but that's me being in my lover archetype, which is serving me really well lately, helping me in walking my talk. And I trust that this was helpful for each of you. And, finding clarity and recognizing what's possible. I know that in this hour, we did not give you every practical solution to like the path forward, but it's individual for each of you. There's no just charted path. That's why this individual work is so powerful. But ultimately, I want you to know that the doubts that you have about yourself are fucking bullshit. So start questioning them. Trust yourself. Build confidence in yourself. It is possible, but you've got to get off your ass and you've got to stop hiding and avoiding to build your confidence. And you've got to be willing to stand into the flames when the world tries to knock you back in quote unquote your place. And keep taking imperfect action. That's really the shortcut name for phase 3 is doing things even when you're not completely sure, trusting that you're going to land on your feet and you're going to figure it all out. This is living fully. And that's what bulletproofing your life, bulletproofing your 2022 is all about. I hope this was helpful for you. If what we talked about today resonated, and if you truly do desire support in clearing the blocks out of your way and really charting your path forward, I mean, this is what we do and this is what's available. I'd love to see you schedule a call. We'd be happy to speak with you. Thanks for dropping the link, Ted. Anything else that you'd like to share, brother?
Nope, I feel complete. Thanks, Zach.
Right.
And thank you all for showing up for yourselves today. It's great to see and love to see that momentum keep moving forward.
Yes. Aho.
And one more thing, if for those watching now or on the replay, if you aren't already part of our Thriving Queer community on Facebook, please search for Thriving Queer Community, and would love to see you join us there. It's a new free space available that we just launched last week, and it's been a joy to co-create with Zach and Andrew.
Yes, lots of exciting things happening. Well, so happy to share this time with you. Look forward to connecting again soon. Bye for now.
Thanks, guys.